All right, today we are cracking open a 2,500-year-old mystery. We're talking about a super cryptic teaching, a bunch of really confused monks, and an answer that could seriously change how you see your own mind. Okay, let's dive right in.
What if I told you that the key to real mental clarity wasn't some New Age technique, but actually a lost meaning, hidden in plain sight? We're about to go on a kind of archaeological dig, not into the dirt, but into the human mind. And we're using the original words of the Buddha as our treasure map.
So, the story starts out pretty simply. The Buddha gets his students together, he gives them this short, really dense, and let's be honest, pretty confusing piece of advice, and then he just gets up and walks away. He leaves them completely on their own to figure it out.
Okay, so here it is. This is the core of the puzzle. Consciousness should not be scattered and dispersed on the outside, or established on the inside. And by not grasping, anxiety just stops. I mean, it sounds incredibly profound, right? But what does it actually mean?
At 8, it wasn't just us reading this thousands of years later. The original monks who heard it firsthand were completely baffled. These words, they seemed straightforward enough, but the way they were being used felt like there was something much, much deeper going on. They just knew they were missing a crucial piece of the puzzle.
And pretty quickly, they realized something important. This wasn't just a philosophical riddle they had to think their way out of. It was actually a language problem. The real meaning was locked inside the words themselves. To get the key, they needed to find a master codebreaker.
So they go looking for one of their peers, a monk named Mahākaccāna. Now this guy had a special reputation. The Buddha himself had said he was the absolute best at unpacking these dense teachings and explaining them with total clarity. He was their best shot.
And this, right here, is where our investigation really begins. Because Mahākaccāna's explanation goes way beyond the simple dictionary definitions we use today. He reveals the visceral, the visual, and the intensely physical root meanings of these ancient Pali words. Just look at the difference in intensity here. We think of a scattered mind as just being a little distracted, you know? But the original word, vikita, means to be thrown apart, literally. Imagine your awareness being physically ripped into pieces and flung in a dozen different directions. It's violent. It's totally chaotic.
And what about dispersed? The original word, visita, doesn't mean spreading out. It means leaked out. Picture your mental energy, your actual focus, seeping out of you like water from a cracked clay pot. You're being drained. You're losing something vital that you can't get back.
Now let's look at the internal state. Established sounds kind of positive, right? Like you're stable, you're grounded. But the root word, sanihita, means congealed. Think of a flowing river freezing over into a solid, unmoving block of ice. It's about becoming rigid, stuck, and totally inflexible, even if it's in a state that feels peaceful.
And finally, we have grasping. The Pali word is upadaya. Now this isn't just about holding on tight. Its root meaning is taking up fuel. So think about that. Every time we grasp, we are actively throwing another log onto the fire of our own anxiety. So the Buddha's warning becomes way clearer. Your mind isn't just distracted, it's being torn apart. It isn't just settled, it's frozen solid. And we're not just holding on, we are actively fueling the fire.
So with these incredibly powerful new images in our heads, being thrown apart, leaking out, and congealing, how did Mahākaccāna actually apply them to our day-to-day experience?
He said the mind gets thrown apart externally whenever our consciousness latches onto everything that's happening around us. A notification on your phone, a passing car, a sudden memory. Each one hooks a piece of your awareness and just pulls it away, leaving you feeling fragmented, pulled in a million directions, and totally drained. But here's the really subtle trap. The mind can also congeal on the inside. This can happen when we get fixated on a really pleasant inner state, like the bliss you might feel in a deep meditation. We cling to that feeling, we want it to stay, and our awareness becomes rigid, it freezes, it can't flow anymore. We actually become attached to the very practice that was supposed to free us.
So the goal then is a mind that is neither being torn apart by the world nor frozen solid by its own inner states. It's about a mind that can stay whole and fluid. And this, Mahākaccāna explains, is the direct path to freedom from anxiety.
And just like with those other words, the ancient term for anxiety, paritasana, is so much more physical than how we think of it. It doesn't mean mental worry. It literally means to tremble all over. It's this deep, full-body agitation that shakes your entire being. So what causes this full-body trembling?
Well, Mahākaccāna breaks it right down for us. First, we make this mistake where we identify with our fleeting thoughts, our feelings, our body as some kind of solid, permanent me. But of course, all that stuff is constantly changing, right? So our awareness tries to cling to it as it shifts, and that creates this constant, terrifying friction. That friction is the trembling.
The solution, then, is to stop adding fuel to the fire. It's that simple. By not grasping, by not identifying with the endless flow of experience as me or mine, you cut off the fuel source. The fire of anxiety doesn't need to be fought, it just goes out on its own. The trembling stops.
And this illustrates the result perfectly. When this practice is really mastered, the amount of future suffering, future trembling, future anxiety that you generate for yourself is exactly zero. You have literally stepped out of the entire cycle.
So after getting this absolutely masterful explanation, the monks, who now finally understand the teaching, they do one last thing. They go back to the source just to make absolutely sure this interpretation is the right one. And the Buddha gives his complete and total endorsement. He says, Mahākaccāna is wise. If you had asked me, I would have explained it in exactly the same way. This is its meaning, and this is how you should remember it. The puzzle is officially solved.
Which, of course, leaves us with a final and pretty powerful question. If common words we use every day, like scattered and anxious, are hiding a much deeper physical reality, what else about our own inner world have we completely misunderstood, just because we're using the wrong words to describe it?